Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, this is Orphanlast, aka Skylar Madison, and today I'm starting out this 51 animation challenge by getting the flour sack to do a walk cycle. This is the first walk cycle I've ever done, and I'd say I'm pretty happy with it. Maybe the upper portion of it gets a little thin here and there, but then again, we see the upper top half of the flour sack from multiple different angles as it sways about. So maybe I'm just being a little bit overcritical about it. I don't know. Let me know in the comment section if you think that this is a convincingly sad walk cycle, because personally I think I'm not too far off the mark, if not on the mark, as it currently stands. So the first thing that I decided to tackle was getting the thumbnails positioned together on the stage. That way I wouldn't have to spend a lot of time scratching my head and wondering how I'd get from one pose to another one in such a short space of time. Things like that. I also decided to squash the characters a bit, just to transform them a bit, because I felt as if that made the characters look more alive somehow, for some reason. Here's something that bothers me with Opentoonz. Here, I place a note on the timeline, and at some point, I guess I accidentally moved the note window all the way to the upper left of the screen, and I just can't move it and place it someplace else. There's nothing I can do about it. It's just right there forever. You'd think that there'd be something in the program that would move the note to a default position or something after closing and reopening Opentoonz, but unfortunately that's not the case. However, we seem to have exactly that for every single window, for better or worse, but just not for the note window. Right here, I go ahead and start deciding on my roughed up timing, but I plan on keeping pretty loyal to the timing that I laid down here. One thing that really helps in setting up your timing is setting your timeline or X sheet to sec frame, so that you can see the frames all split up by time, and not just a series of frames. Usually I just revert it back afterwards. The thing that's really handy about this thumbnail level is that I'm able to use it for a variety of things. I'm able to set little markers and arcs and such, so that things are all laid out rather nicely. I ultimately start out by drawing out the contact poses and the passing positions of the walk cycle. Eventually, I'll have a tutorial on walk cycles, but just typing in
2D animation walk cycle tutorial
in YouTube will give you guys quite a bit of information as it is. Now, unless you have something like a double bounce or you decide to get really creative with the walk cycle, the only real poses that you need are 2 contact poses and 2 passing positions, all drawn out. So basically 4 different drawings that basically function as keyframes. I then split the poses up on the timeline and began in-betweening. Now, I really do like using the X sheet as the animation sheet, but I have to say, every time I draw on an exposed frame, it's really annoying that I can't draw on it. I just wind up creating a new drawing. It just creates a whole new drawing, and it's a giant pain in the butt. I'm constantly pressing Ctrl-Z because of it. Also, there's no tool enabled to quickly flip from the previous drawing, then to the current drawing, then to the next drawing, so that I can just kind of use my reference drawings for the current drawing. Using the X sheet as the animation sheet is supposed to help us in the process of creating in-betweens, and yet it has nothing to help you flip to your reference drawings, the drawings that happen to have the onion skins placed on them. You have to constantly press the left arrow key and the right arrow key a bunch of times, which really slows down the entire process. So really, I'm actually thinking about doing a lot of the animating on the level strip simply because I don't have to deal with all these multiple frames on the timeline. With all these multiple frames on the timeline, I'm basically slowed down in my process of flipping back and forth. It'd be really nice to have more functionality with the onion skins with the X sheet set as the animation sheet, so that pressing back will allow you to jump to the previous frame that's onion skinned, and pressing forward will jump to the current frame, and then pressing forward once again will be able to jump even further ahead to the next drawing on the timeline. Again, I really do like using the X sheet as the animation sheet, but ultimately I feel as though there's still a few rough patches here and there that just need to be ironed out a little bit. Ultimately, when I'm using the onion skins these days, I use them to draw little dots. This is the way that I do point-to-point animation. Then I deactivate the onion skins by clicking the slash key, and I flip constantly in order to see the two reference drawings before and after the current frame. Which, coincidentally, the easiest way to do that is with the scrubber bar, but I shouldn't have to use the scrubber bar in order to do that. Now, the only exception for what I was saying with the onion skins is that when the onion skins are so close together or so similar to one another, I can easily draw in between the red and green lines without having any sort of guesswork to be involved. Notice on the timeline, on frame 1, there's a keyframe. I created that by clicking on the key icon at the bottom of the viewer, and I did the same at the end of the walk cycle. This makes it so that the original walk cycle won't get manipulated as I continue the walk cycle afterwards. Now, I already moved level 1's drawing at the end of the walk cycle and used the animation tool to move it at the end of the walk cycle. It's at this point that I'm just situating things on the timeline so that I can have the flour sack take 4 steps, even though I only drew out 2 steps. This approach is actually fairly common in animation. Could you imagine drawing a character doing each and every step in an entire theatrical movie? It'd never get done. Okay, so it's at this point that I started to kind of separate out what I had already drawn in accordance to the timing that I had already established with the thumbnail images. Now, I like animating this way so that I can actually see the timing as I'm animating it. I can see the timing immediately. I can see how things look perfectly from right there. Now, there are some animators out there that have this philosophy that says, oh, well, if it looks good in ones, then it'll look good when you space out the drawings and, have things on 1s, 2s, and 3s and such like that. I disagree. Like, in my opinion, you should be able to see everything with the timing as it should appear, final draft finished, when you're animating it start to finish. And having the X sheet as the animation sheet is the best way for you to do that. However, like I've been saying throughout this video, having it so that an exposed frame will just create a new frame, that's annoying. I wind up pressing Ctrl-Z all the time. There is this argument that the emphasis is on creating new in-betweens. Well, yeah, okay. Well, if it's actually helping you create in-betweens, then why is it that flipping for your in-betweening process is an absolute nightmare? Why is that? Something needs to be done about this. It's extremely frustrating. I'm going to wind up animating with the level strip, which kind of defeats the point of having the X sheet as the animation sheet if you're not even using the X sheet as your animation sheet. If you're not able to flip while you're in-betweening, it's completely pointless. The entire endeavor of having the X sheet as the animation sheet. You're not going to be doing any animating on the X sheet. As a side note, I unfortunately lost my stylus, and a replacement stylus won't be coming in until Wednesday, so I won't have much time to work on any videos next week. I'll try my best to get you guys at least one video, but I just don't know what I can do. In fact, this is my only video for this week because I lost my stylus. Not much that I can do about that, unfortunately. I suppose next week I could try to pop out an Opentoonz news video. No promises, though. Those videos are very time-consuming and very difficult to make. I'm thinking that my next video will be a t-shirt design. Like I've already told you guys, once I hit 1,000 subscribers, I'll be opening up my own Patreon and start selling t-shirts. I just don't want to throw out millions of t-shirt designs, and I'm not really going to push for people to donate to my Patreon. My focus is primarily on making Opentoonz as good as it can possibly be and building my audience. Pretty soon here, I'll be looking into t-shirt distributors and looking at the quality that they are able to provide and see if I'd be willing to sell t-shirts with each distributor with that sort of quality. I'll just be experimenting, getting a bunch of samples. There's a lot of online t-shirt distributors and not all of them pop out good work. So I'm going to be looking at them to make sure that I provide you guys the best stuff that I can find. Anyways, guys, that pretty much concludes it with this video. If you guys enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you didn't like it, please like, share, and subscribe anyways. There's a lot of work that goes into these videos, and if you'd like to see more, feel free to click on any of the videos that are appearing on the screen right now. Thank you very much for your time.